and good afternoon, everyone. It's really good to see you here this morning. I hope you've been enjoying the EDDI conference so far. It always has quite interesting sessions. And this morning, I'm going to be talking to you about the DDI Alliance Training Group and what is new, what we have been doing in the past year, because it really is very exciting things, and we want to make sure everyone knows what's happening. So first, since it's a DDI Alliance Training Group, I have to tell you about the DDI Alliance itself in case there's anyone here that doesn't know about it. And then just a bit about the training group. What's happened over the past year? What do we want to do in the future? And how can you help? So I'll be really brief about the Alliance because maybe everyone in this group knows about it. So just be patient with me if you've already heard this before. But the Alliance is a self-sustaining member organization created in 2003, and it's a very exciting alliance to be part of because as a member you have a voice in the DDI development. The executive director is Jared Lyle, and all the information about the alliance is online: membership, charter, publications, conferences, working groups. You can find everything you want right there. And the alliance consists of an executive board, a scientific board, a technical committee, and various working groups, which are convened to work on different activities and topics within the work areas of the DDI Alliance. And the training group is one of those working groups. Okay, now we're on to the DDI Training Group itself. It was thoroughly reorganized in 2019, and Jared Lyle, the DDI Alliance Executive Director, appointed 2 new co-chairs, Anya Perry from GASIS and myself. And our initial task was to update the mandate and to reorganize the training group and to get it going again. So we put out a call for volunteers, and because we needed new members for the group, and with the result that the overall membership of the committee was expanded to 15 members. And we just asked for a 2-year commitment from them, and that was it. And Anya and I also gave a 2-year commitment to the committee. So our meetings started in January of 2020. And this is our mandate. It was to introduce people to DDI and improve people's competence in working with DDI, because there's a lot of folks out there who still aren't sure what DDI is and they just need to know about it. We wanted to make sure our training was geared towards specific audiences. We wanted to make sure that we would be able to help develop expertise within the community for training purposes. And we wanted to maintain a training resources collection with updated training material for reuse. And this was really important to do because we want everyone to have training materials to help themselves to learn about DDI when they can't get a hold of anyone or they just want to learn about it on their own. And the third point about developing expertise is also very important because currently there's only a small number of people who are available for training, and they're not always available to do it. And these are the members of the training group as of November. And Alina, who is also part of this session, and Adrian are also part of the training group. And I don't have the locations of everyone here, but it really is an international committee with members all over the world. And there will be some new members coming on in January. Both Anya and I will be finished our 2-year term as chair, and the new co-chairs will be Alina and Haley. So we are quite excited that they will be carrying on the work. Now, I have one name in there, Shelley Petrinko, and her name is in brackets, and that's because she's an unofficial member of the group. She's Jared's admin assistant, and she does a lot of the admin tasks for us, one of them being finalizing the slides and entering them into Zenodo, and I'll talk more about Zenodo later on. So collaboration is very important for the training group because it's important to know what's happening with the other groups in the Alliance so we can work together when possible. For example, we work with the marketing and partnerships groups. We want them to know when we are doing webinars so they can make sure that they're marketed and published well enough for people to attend them. And we're also putting together some videos. We also work with the technical committee in making sure that they have the web pages that they need for their information, and anything that has to do with the technical committee, they are the ones that update those web pages, and we just work with the beginning ones. And we do have occasional meetings with the scientific board so that they are always aware of what we have been and will be doing because they are the ones that we report back to, and we solicit feedback from them when we have our different plans. One of our other important collaborations, and this is for the DDI Alliance as a whole, not just the training group, is with CoData. And I just want to mention here that they host all of our webinars, and they not only provide the platform for us, they also provide technical support and advertising for us. And this includes tweeting out our webinars. So a very big thank you to CoData for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. So like any group, we have meetings, and the whole group meets on a monthly basis the first Tuesday of every month. And this is really important because we update each other on what we're doing, and we solicit opinions on what's happening. For example, when we had a discussion about licensing and attribution for the slides, this was a decision that was made by the whole group, what we were going to do about that. And it took a few meetings actually to get one settled, but we had to make sure everyone in the training group was on the same page with this. Another reason for meeting as a whole group on a monthly basis is to answer questions that we might have about what the different subgroups are doing. And we do have subgroups as part of our bigger group, and we have them as they are needed. Now, what I mean by this is that the subgroups have happened organically. The first 3 meetings the training group had almost 2 years ago, we just talked about the mandate and what all the members thought would be important for us to be doing. And with the discussions we had, there were the names of 4 subgroups that came up. It wasn't anything Anya and I suggested. It was the members who came up with these ideas. And so the members chose the groups in which they wanted to be involved, and they came up with their own mandate. And this was important for them to do because they were the ones who were going to be doing the work. So it was important that they understood and agreed what they would be working on together. And then they report back to the larger group monthly. And these are the monthly meetings that I talked about on the last slide. And this was just real important because the working subgroups have activities that are overlapping and complement each other. So we each need to know what everyone else is working on. Now, we had 4 subgroups last year, but 2 of them have since finished their work. So currently, there are only 2 subgroups. One of the current subgroups is the Training Opportunities subgroup, and Hilda Orton is the chair of this group. And this is their mandate. They look for upcoming conferences to showcase DDI. They look for opportunities to collaborate. And they look at how they are going to deal with training requests. And this is very important because it depends what the training requests are and what people want, that how we're going to deal with them has to be figured out. So the tasks to fulfill this mandate include putting together a training request form that I'm going to show you in another slide, to make sure they collaborate with marketing so they're on the same page. And one of the tasks is also to approach other organizations to collaborate. And this is where the connection was made with CoData and also a connection with GoFair and other different interest groups within the Research Data Alliance. So these are the questions that are in the training request form that I just mentioned. And anyone can, this form is on the DDI Alliance web pages, and anyone can come to it and fill it out. But this is the information that is needed for us to be able to figure out what type of training they want. So we need the institution or organization's background information, their name, their primary function, and their location. We need the contact information for the person who is filling out the form, and this includes whether or not they are new to DDI. And then we need training or consultation request details, like the timing of it. How long do they expect the training to be? Is it a 1-hour session? Is it a workshop for a half a day? Or do they want us for a few days to be doing some training? And we ask for specific dates they are expecting the training. We also want to know who the audience is. Is it librarians? Is it systems folks? Is it analysts? This is one of the other questions. Also important is the language they would like the training to be in, and the type of training they would like. Would they like an in-person workshop, or would they like a webinar? We also want to know how many participants they are expecting, and if there are any resources that are available. For example, will they be able to host the training, or would they like us to do it? And any other pertinent information that they think. And when I said type of training, we also need to know, is this going to be to beginners, or to someone who already knows a bit about DDI, or will it be about a certain DDI product? For example, do they want to know about the DDI life cycle? So once this form is filled in, it goes to the training opportunities subgroup and they answer it and take it forward. What else does this group do? Well, they do mini sprints, and these are to work on slide decks, such as metadata, the FAIR principles, qualitative data, and DDI CDI. So they've had 4 mini sprints in the past year, and these have turned out to be an excellent way to get the slides completed. As well, they have workshops, and they organized a webinar for the Dublin Core group. And they also did a short series of training webinars as well. They put together the DDI training fair that took place on Friday and Monday. And just so you know, the slides produced by all of these were put in the training resources Zenodo community. So these are the training webinars that I just mentioned to you about. And this isn't all of them. This is how many I could actually fit on the slide. And they were an introduction to metadata for research data management, a DDI perspective. This was done in April. Then they did a webinar on implementing FAIR, what DDI can do for you. This one was done in June. And then in September, they did a webinar on data integration using DDI CDI with other standards. And in November was the last one. It was just a couple of weeks ago. They did a webinar on data quality, thinking about quality and DDI metadata. So these are a set of the training webinars that were organized by this group, and it's turned out to be quite successful. So they will be continuing on in this in the new year. Now, another subgroup, the other one that is still active, is the slide deck review subgroup, and the chair is Haley Mills. And the mandate is simply one line to review all of the slide decks in depth. But I have to tell you, this is very intensive work. The tasks include going through the existing presentations and checking whether each is complete and whether it's ready to be passed on for editing. Now, not all of the presentations are complete, so they have to figure out what is still needed. Why are they incomplete? And then the last task is to make sure that all of the slides are consistently branded. Now, this group has started something in the last few months called the Lucid Chart environment, and that's what they are using to track all of the slide decks. So they're all put in there, and they're categorized based on the audience that they will appeal to. So are they general topics or are they specific topics? They're also prioritized as to whether they need to be worked on right away or if they can wait. And then they are categorized by color, depending on if they're ready to be published, or they're ready to be reviewed, or they have been reviewed, or they're a brand new slide deck. And this was a very good way to organize all the slide decks and keep track of what is happening with each one, because it was just too difficult to try and remember what was happening with them. So here's a list of the slide decks that have been finished. And as you look through this list, you can see that there is a variety of them, and there will be many more coming. And by the way, when you get the slides, all the links are on these titles, so you'll be able to go and look at them. I also want to mention here that these materials have been created by the DDI experts at a Schloss-Dagstuhl workshop in 2018 and by the DDI Training Group. The materials in here are also intended to be reused by anyone who needs to for any of their teaching. And that is why they cover many different and relevant DDI topics. So in total, there's 10 finished slide decks. Now, I have to tell you, there's still a number being worked on. And they're even working on a slide deck on how to use these slide decks for training, because we really want people to use them. We don't want them to have to reinvent the wheel. And if you use these slide decks, we just encourage you to make sure you give proper attribution when you use them. Now, the gap analysis subgroup was chaired by Dan Gilman, and its mandate was to review the topics of the slide decks and to see where there were gaps. They finished, their mandate was completed, so the subgroup was disbanded and the information was passed on to the slide deck subgroup. And at this point in time, some of the topics were starting to overlap, so it made sense that the two groups should be together. And the members from this particular subgroup chose which other subgroup they wanted to join. There was another subgroup that completed its mandate, and this was a training web pages subgroup, and the chair was Marta Limlet. Their mandate was to update the current training pages on the DDI Alliance website. Now, when I say the current pages, that's when the mandate was done up. So those are actually the old pages from a year ago. And this mandate was completed, so the subgroup was disbanded, and what they had to do was review the pages, identify any missing topics, and then update them. And one of the things of reviewing the pages was to make sure that if there was any technical material, that these went straight to the technical committee, because these were not training topics. And one of the tasks that the training web pages subgroup did was to come up with a new structure, which was implemented on the web pages a couple months ago. So I was part of this group, and that's why I would say we came up with 4 new web pages. What is DDI? Why use DDI? Who uses DDI? And how to use DDI? Because basically what we were doing is we were gearing these web pages to users who knew little or nothing about DDI. Now, on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see where the 4 new pages are, and they are under the Learn tab on the DDI Alliance website. And then if you go to resources further on down, this is where they have the pages for more knowledgeable or more expert DDI users. But we're really gearing the pages to the novice DDI users out there, because in talking to people, this is what they wanted to know more about. Another suggestion from our group was that we needed some type of logo to distinguish the different products that DDI has. And marketing developed it in response to a request from us. And this is better for branding because there are different DDI products, as you can see from this list. And that way these logos can go with the different product pages that they are associated to. Now, I'm not sure if everyone here knows about the Zenodo community. It's becoming much more popular than it was a year ago, but I just, in case anyone isn't familiar with it, I just wanted to mention that it is a general purpose open access repository developed under the European Open Air program and operated by CERN. And it allows researchers to deposit research papers, data sets, research software, reports, and any other research-related digital artifacts. And it's been around since May 2013. Now, the reason I'm mentioning Zenodo is because this is where we are storing our training materials. And I do have a link here in this slide. So there are 3 different DDI Zenodo communities. One of them is for the DDI Training Material. And this is a product of the DDI Training Group. All of the slides in here, by the way, can be used for training on DDI, and there's a CC BY license with it. And there are currently 10 of them. And I had a slide earlier which listed some of them. Now, our curation policy is that only training slides approved by the DDI Alliance are made available here. So they have to be approved by the slide deck review group. However, if you do want to publish your own DDI workshop slides, there is somewhere else that you can put them into. And this is the DDI Training Group. And it currently has 11 entries in it, and they accept submissions of openly available DDI training material that can also be reused by others in a class environment or for self-teaching. Submissions should also have a CC BY license and clearly specify authorship. I'm emphasizing clearly specify because I don't know how many slide decks I've seen that do not have the author's name on them, and they all should. As well, you should also clearly indicate your topic area, language, and conference name, if applicable, and any other information that will help the users to find the appropriate learning resources. And by the way, both this DDI community in Zenodo and the last one were set up by Anya Perry. And eventually, all of the presentations that are currently on the DDI Alliance web pages will be put into this particular Zenodo group. And that is something that we'll be working on in the future. And there is a third Zenodo community that I want to mention, and it is called the DDI Alliance. It has a fair number of presentations, as you can see here, 181. And it's for anyone, it's put up there for the community of the DDI Alliance, and its curation policy is a whole lot shorter. It just says presentations and publications related to DDI. And Kurt Flenzig set it up, and it's not related to the 2 communities I just mentioned, but it is important to know about because it obviously has a whole lot more presentations in it than the first 2 communities do. So by all means, if you're looking for any DDI related training or presentations, these are the 3 communities that you want to check out. Okay, how about the future for our training group? Well, when we set up the mandate 2 years ago, we were just wanted to get the group started again, get the web pages updated, get those slide decks out there for people to use. And basically we have accomplished our mandate. So we have to come up with a new mandate, a new reason for this group to continue on with what it's doing. As well, we want to be doing outreach to new audiences. Should we be putting in more presentations there for librarians, for developers, for managers? We're really not sure. So we're looking for ideas, but we want to make sure that we have information out there for anyone looking to know more about DDI. As well, we'll be developing new training materials, I imagine, because there aren't very many there right now, as you saw from the list. Plus, the slide deck review group is still working on a number of slide decks that they will be finishing up at some point and putting up there. But that really is very intensive work. As well, how about we're thinking about maybe some collaboration with other organizations, just to, it's excellent to partner up with other organizations to see how we can help them and how they can help us. Now, something else that came up for us in the last couple of meetings was about the glossary, because the DDI glossary needs to be updated. But we felt this was beyond the mandate of the training group. So a new working group has been formed for the DDI glossary, and the link is here. And they haven't quite started their work yet. That's how new they are. So if putting together a glossary is something you are interested in, make sure you contact us, and that would be great to have you on the group. And another important part of the training group is to recruit some new members. Some of the old members have had to leave. They've completed their 2-year term, and it is time to move on. So we just want to make sure that if this is the type of thing you're interested in, helping to develop training materials, helping to develop webinars, working on slide decks, anything like that, make sure that you contact me, or you could contact Jared also, and just let us know what you're thinking about. Now, I've only told you some of the things that the DDI Training Committee has been working on. So it's like I've just showed you just the tip of an iceberg. And I do want to mention on a personal note that this is a great committee to work with. And Anya and I really appreciated the hard work that everyone puts into it. And I also want to say that I absolutely enjoyed working with Anya as a co-chair. She was a very hard worker and excellent to work with, and I quite enjoyed it. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this. And there is my contact information, and the slides will be put up somewhere. I'm sure Eddie will be sending out an email to let you know about it. Thank you.